Dr. Nevers Mumba, thank you very much for giving me this time to talk to you on the Public Order Act for the Voice of America. What are your views right now regarding the Public Order Act? Are you people free to mingle with the electorate?
Well, I think there are two ways in which to answer that question. Firstly, the Patriotic Front government of Mr. Michael Sata has made a position. It is a position which is anti the Constitution, and it is anti the regulations of the Public Order Act as contained therein. They have decided themselves as a political party that as long as they're in power, they are not going to allow any opposition political party to have rallies to address the electorate outside a by-election or an election taking place. In other words, I cannot go out and have a big meeting with my members, for instance, in one of the provinces. I'll be arrested and thrown into jail. The Public Order Act, which they are using as the line for executing that policy, does not even require that I get a permit or my party gets a permit in order to hold a public rally. It simply says that you notify the police within 7 days that you'll be meeting people, and the police have to provide security. So the position we have in Zambia today is that as an opposition leader, I am not able to hold a public rally. Even if I apply to the police, the answer is a no. And it has been this way ever since this government came into government. So we are not really free to interact with our own people. So that is the position of this government. Our position as a political party is that we have done several things. Number one, we have tried to engage this government, and we have drawn a blank. We have gone to the international community and submitted these abuses of the Constitution and human rights to the Commonwealth, for instance. And the Commonwealth has been here with a very high-level representation to speak to both the government and ourselves. And they have also drawn a blank. We are now going to the African Union and to the SADC to take the same concern that democracy is being assaulted, and we are now sending early warning signs to the regional powers and also to continental and international powers that Zambia seems to be in trouble with democracy.
This is a piece of legislation that is basically inherited from the colonial masters, Great Britain. In its current form, how do you think then the way forward should be? Should it remain the way it is?
Firstly, it is important to understand the origin of the Public Order Act. Before 1964, when we got our independence, the British placed that piece of legislation to restrict and stop the natives, the Zambian people, from gathering together and discussing ways of getting their freedom. And any grouping they found, they would arrest them under that legislation. So they were required to go to the police and get a permit, and then allowed to have a meeting. And obviously, they were not being given the permit. When we took over as the Movement for Multi-Party Democracy, there was a concern that we needed to deal with that piece of legislation. And we dealt with it and removed certain sector or sections of it, which means that you did not need to go and get a permit from the police. All you needed to do was to notify the police so that they can provide security for your meeting. That is what we left in place as the Movement for Multi-Party Democracy. This new government, when it came into government, they have taken the same piece of legislation and stretched it beyond its meaning, which means that you have to get a permit, going back to the pre-64 days, that you have to get a permit, and this permit is never given to anybody as a way of regulating or stopping the opposition from participating in communicating rather with the electorate and sharing our policies and what we anticipate to provide for the people once voted into power.
The people charged with enforcing this POA, the Zambia police, have always cited security concerns as reasons for not allowing the opposition, the MMD for instance, not to go ahead with any public rally outside a by-election. What are your comments on that?
That is a ridiculous position because, unfortunately, what they stop us from doing, they do themselves. The Patriotic Front can have a rally anywhere they want at any time, at any level of their party. It doesn't even have to be the president. It can be just a chairman from the province, a chairman from the district. They can have the rallies. And we know what is going on. When we were in government, Mr. Sata, who is the current president, and at that point he was the opposition leader, He was having these public rallies everywhere and all the time. In fact, almost every weekend he was having a rally addressing. That's how come he had an opportunity to win the last election, because we gave him the opportunity to connect with the electorate and speak to them in public forum. Unfortunately, we don't have that situation. There's no security risk that they will encounter if they allow us to have the rallies. We have these rallies during the by-elections, and they're going on well, except that we can't do it outside the by-election. We'll be arrested, like I've been arrested 3 times in this same regard.
Finally, Dr. Mumba, would you then say that repealing this act altogether would make any sense?
I think that government, a responsible government, even with the current piece of legislation, if it's a democratic government, it's a responsible government, it's an educated government, that piece of legislation should not harm anybody, because all they need to do is that you tell the police, I'm going to have a meeting, in that football pitch, and there might be too many people and they might have a little confusion. Please put your police on standby to help us in case there's a problem. That is the reason why that exists. In its current form, it can work very well. But unfortunately, it depends on the driver. And the driver in this case is the PF government, which knows no democracy and wants to stifle any freedom of expression in this country. And we are determined as a political party to fight it. And we have already started the process of now starting to not respect what the police said concerning our liberties and our freedoms to communicate with the electorate.
Repealing it altogether?
I think under this government, if they were to repeal this, it would work in the interest of everybody. And I think I would propose that they consider repealing it. But obviously, they are not in a position to do that because they have made up their minds.
Dr. Mumba, thank you very much for giving me this time to talk to you for and on behalf of the Voice of America.
Thank you so much.